What's up, guys? It's Minx, and today I'm going to show you how to go from no mod to having a patch in Lethal Company. There's videos and tutorials and stuff on other games, and they do apply. But if you're new, you may not have realized that, so here you are. Um, so, there's a couple things before we actually do anything that I want to kind of bring up here. That way, you have them, have access to them, and they're just overall really good resources. So, I'm going to link two Discords in the description. There is a specific modding Discord, and then an unofficial Lethal Company Discord that has a strong modding presence. So, if you're working on a mod and you need help, you can use those places to ask others that have more experience for help. I won't pretend I know everything, or probably even at this point a lot about everything, but um, I am able to reach out and get help with things that I struggle with, and I've helped others. So that's a big resource. Another resource that is pretty useful here is the Lethal Company modding wiki. So it doesn't. It has the template project here, um, which is what we're going to get to. We're going to sort of get to something similar to this, but we're going to actually do a patch. I don't think this has any patches in it. No, it just has the config, which we won't need. I'll show you how to do what you need to do. And yeah, all this extra stuff. We don't need that. Our IDE that we're going to be using for this will cover all that stuff. What you can do is head over to the wiki tab here, and this has a bunch of different pages. It's being built on over time, so it'll get bigger. We've got last edit 5 days ago with 12 revisions, and we've got more incoming soon. We just had a big discussion over game object destruction. So uh, I'll link this as well. So those two Discords and this resource. But just like I watched a video on how to mod Valheim to figure out how to do this, you're gonna get a more personalized tutorial for how to mod Lethal Company. So it's pretty much going to be doing the same thing. But anyway, let's go ahead and do a new project. And actually, before we go any further, there's two prerequisites that you need. There's one that's more of a one soft prerequisite and two hard prerequisites. Soft prerequisite is some knowledge of C sharp. I'll be honest, I don't know really much about Unity at all, and my general knowledge came from general programming, such as Python. I had made the Lethal Company save editor before I started modding here. I knew a little bit about what we were doing before we started, and it's hard to learn doing something like this if you don't already know a little bit about like the basics of coding. If you have any C sharp knowledge, then you'll be fine, or any coding knowledge in general, especially if it's a C language like C++ or actual C. Um, Moving on, you need to have an IDE installed. We're going to be using Visual Studio for this. Visual Studio is my favorite. It makes things super easy. It integrates very well with like Unreal Engine, where more of my experience comes from. So uh, you need to have Visual Studio with the correct components installed. You need like .NET. I'm pretty sure you need the game development one. It may be optional, but you need at least the C# .NET. Um, and then finally, um, they use a BepInEx package that you can use for the NuGet. We're just simply going to use, I have a tutorial on how to install BepInEx into the game. Install BepInEx into the game. You're going to be testing it anyway, you might as well, and you get your references directly from the BepInEx folder here. So I'll link my YouTube video on how to install BepInEx into your game. Once you do that, and you got Visual Studio installed, come back and let's continue. So once you've got that set up, go ahead and start a new project. Make sure you select C# at the top. Make sure you select library at the top. That'll make it easy to find what we're looking for. And we're looking for class library.net framework, a project for creating a C# class library.dll. Go ahead and grab that or select that, hit next. Now, what you name your project is going to be what everything is named. So go ahead and name it what you want your mod to be. So for example, when I originally made the Game Master mod, which is where pretty much all of my knowledge on modding Lethal Company comes from at this point, it started off as test mod, and the GitHub repo still represents that, despite me renaming everything in the end. And after I renamed everything, it made things significantly more annoying because of how the IDE handled it. So Name it what you want ahead of time. If you make a test mod for practice, when you go integrate a new one, make a new project, probably easier. At that point. So we're going to go ahead and for this one, we're going to be LC tutorial mod. Okay, hit enter and it'll create. And if you've done everything right, you should see a screen that looks like this. Before we go in and start writing code, let's go ahead and rename some stuff and add some references that we know we're going to need. So public class 1, we probably want to rename that. So I'm just going to do tutorial mod. I know, naming convention, it is what it is. We'll say tutorial mod base, it's fine. And then you want to rename your class1.cs. It seems like the most common one is plugin, so we'll do plugin.cs, and there we go. So once you've got that done, Control S, Control B to save and build, and let's go ahead and add the references. So these references are the DLLs that we're going to be referencing that we need to firstly hook in with Harmony, and then actually the references to the game code. So if we right click on the I don't even know what this part of it's called. So you have the solution and then whatever this is on the namespace. No, the namespace is that. It is what it is. So right click here, hit add, and we hit reference. So since I've been doing this already with my other projects, I already have everything I've referenced right here. You're not going to have this stuff if this is your first time. So we're going to hit browse. Now browse, I don't remember where it takes you by default. It definitely doesn't take you here. So this is where you're going to find most of your DLLs. What you want to do, you may have already found this, your Lethal Company save directory, or not save directory, but game directory, because you installed BepInEx. If you're struggling to find it, go to Steam, right click on the game, manage, browse local files, and it pops up. And then what you can do, copy this, paste it up in here. So once you've done that, once you're here, get here, find the exe. So first thing we want to reference is our BepInEx and Harmony. So go up into BepInEx. If you don't have all these folders, you need to pause here for a second, run your game, it will generate these folders. Once you've got these folders, go ahead and go into core, find Zero Harmony, click on that, hold down Control and click on BepInEx. Then hit add. And since mine are already here, it didn't add anything to this list, but it'll add them to the list for you so you can find them easier in the future. Once you've added those, we want to hit browse one last time. Let's go to the Lethal Company root directory, find Lethal Company data, go into managed, and there's a few things that we want. We absolutely, every single time, want this assembly C#. I'm just going to go ahead and add right now, and we're going to go back in, and there's a couple more we want, Unity Engine and Unity Engine.core. So we find Unity Engine. I always get lost in the sauce here. Unity Engine and Unity Engine.core module. So hold down Control, hit click those, hit add. All right, so this will cover about 90% of what you need. If you need more, the engine will yell at you, be like, "Hey, are you missing this reference?" Yes, add this reference. It'll tell you which reference to add. But for now, we'll just use those. We'll hit OK. If it bugs us about anything, we can see the process of adding it. So now we've got our public class tutorial mod base. Let's make it a sub, or not a sub, a child of a base Unity plugin. So hit your colon button and then type in base Unity plugin. Now it's going to toss an error because we haven't actually added BepInEx. So right click, quick refactoring using BepInEx, and it'll add it up top. So now that we've done that, the next thing we need to do is tell us that this is a BepInEx plugin. So go up to the top here, and I forget what these are called in Python. Oh man, I don't remember what these are called in Python. That's where I learned how to use these. It's essentially a modifier to what it's over, so you can add these to things like functions, and in this case, a class, to tell it to do extra stuff. So do BepInEx. And in here, we need to give it a couple different parameters, and it may be airing out. That's okay. We need to add the reference. Oops, not BepInEx. Wow, I'm ding dong. BepIn plugin. We need to give this three parameters: a string GUID, string name, string version. We're not going to hard code them. We're going to make them variables. So we'll just do mod GUID, comma, mod name, comma, mod version, which have not been defined yet. So let's go ahead and define them. So we're going to do private const string mod UID equals, this needs to be unique, something that no other mod that the user has installed is going to have. So oops, I didn't type in right, mod UID. So I like to do Poseidon dot mod name, so LC tutorial mod. For the mod name, this one doesn't really have to be as unique, but hopefully it is. String mod name equals, let's see, LC tutorial. If I could type. And then private const string mod version equals 1.0. If you're doing something like a Thunderstore release, you need the 3. It's not actually used for that, but you might as well make it a lineup. But you can also just do the 4th number. If I could type again, wow, I need to get on my typing skills. Okay. So next up, we need to define Harmony. That way we can use it to patch things. So let's go ahead and do a private read-only Harmony. And we want to make sure we do Harmony. Since HarmonyLib isn't referenced, it's going to want to try and do HarmonyLib. We're going to do Harmony, and if we hit enter, it's going to reference HarmonyLib for us. Then we'll say lowercase harmony because it doesn't matter, equals new. So we're going to make an instance of Harmony with our mod UID. There we go. Hit Control S, Control B to build. And okay, so now, if you're familiar with programming, you may understand that main is the most common way that we use, or most common name we use for entry points. We do not use that here. For Unity, we use something called a wake. So essentially, when this object is loaded, it calls a wake. And this will get called. This is the entry point. So when your mod gets loaded, this is the first thing that'll happen. So a couple things we want to do. We do a private static instance, and we do a not a private static instance, but a private static tutorial mod base instance. And then in here, if instance is equal to null, instance equals this. So you probably won't need this. You might at some point. If you do, you'll have it. This creates a static reference to the instance of the mod. That way you can access variables when you create patches and other files if you're trying to do, if you end up with a big mod that patches multiple things, like my Game Master mod. So that may be beneficial. So let's go ahead and outside of the if loop here, or if statement, not if loop, outside of here, we want to go ahead and say Harmony .patch all, and you can do .patch all if you have things that you don't want to be patched. For example, another method or something, you may not want to patch everything. You could do patch all type of and the tutorial mod base. We're going to be doing a second file for patching the player controller. We're going to do a infinite sprint today, see how that works. And yeah, so when we do that, we'll be patching that separately, which I'll show you how to do at that point. So we've got our mod. Let's go ahead and actually add a logging source because we need to be able to log things to see what's going on for, let's say, testing, issues, basic troubleshooting, troubleshoot. I'll call it troubleshooting because I'm more of an IT person than a coding person. So what we do is we create a, we'll do a, I forget how we do an internal manual log source. I don't think it's internal. To be honest, I don't remember, but we'll just do internal. If it doesn't work and we get issues, then we'll do it. So we'll just call it an MLS. And in here, do MLS equals vetmanx dot logging. I put in that vetmanx dot logging dot logger. Oops, not that. Create log source. And what we put in here, you can put in, I think mod UID is the correct one. It doesn't matter. They're both strings. All it does is say the name of it. Again, it shouldn't be the same as something else. It should be its own log source. So mod UID makes the most sense. So now we can go ahead and say for example, mls.loginfo, the test mod has awakened. Okay, so that's good. Something to note here, because it's caused some recent issues. We're gonna never mind. We're gonna leave it alone. It's not important. Next up, let's go ahead and figure out what we're gonna patch. So let's open up. I use ILSpy. You can use DNSpy or whatever alternative to these two that you want. Whatever. So I already have stuff open, so kind of cheating, but we're gonna go ahead and open what we want. So again, find your game directory, open up the exe works. It'll open up everything related to the exe. So we got Lethal Company. And if you're unfamiliar with it, everything's going to be pretty much in assembly C#. So we start here. If there's something not in the assembly C#, you can find it by searching for it up here. But almost everything's in here. So what we're looking for is actually in this point. So for example, to learn this or to find this out for the first time, you do kind of have to have an understanding. There's some level of understanding that you need to have, to be honest. But something that games use, for example, if you work with Unreal Engine, is a player controller. And that's what you usually see to control movement. And that's what we see here. So here, and if we open it up, we get all this stuff. Again, if you're familiar with it, you'll know that this amount of variables is typically what we expect. And now we can use this to mess with them. So we don't need access to memory or anything. Like, for example, we don't need to like take up Cheat Engine and start scanning for memory to get the base address and offsets or anything like that. What we need is to find the actual thing that we want to mess with. So we're doing a infinite sprint. So let's do we'll search for sprint. Got a sprint multiplier, which could be interesting. Maybe an extra speed for if you sprint, so you could have normal walk speed and then sprint speed is better. We have is sprinting. We have a sprint time, and we have a sprint meter UI. We have a sprint meter. Don't get confused. So sprint time, I mean, what does that sound like? It sounds like someone who's like, how long do you have to sprint? Like for example, maybe it's like if sprint is 100%, this is how long it is. I'm not really sure. It doesn't sound right. I'm not even sure what it's used for. There's only one that really makes sense, and that's going to be sprint meter. I know it's weirdly named, but sprint meter. So let's go ahead and search for that. Looks like sprint meter is set to 1 on awake, which means 1 is likely going to be max sprint. So we'll just keep that in mind. Max sprint is 1, so it's going to be a 0 to 1, which means we just need to set sprint meter to 1 to have infinite sprint. That's really all it is, right? Damaged player, it looks like sprint meter gets affected by taking damage. Jump performed, sprint meter equals, it looks like it subtracts some stuff for jumping. So that gives us an idea of what we need to do. So let's go ahead and fix our sprinting. So to do this, let's go ahead and make a new folder in here. Add, new folder. We'll call it patches. And I'll right click on it and add a new item. And we're going to call it player controller B patch. Add. And inside of here, we've got everything we need. So just a couple things to note. It says .patches. It's in the folder, so that's good. Everything lines up there. We need to do a couple things similar to the other one. So if we look, we haven't done any patching yet, so there's nothing there, but we need to do brackety stuff above us. So above the class, we need to tell it what we're patching with this. Like obviously we know it's a player controller B patch. Harmony needs to be told that. So we do a harmony patch, and it looks like we haven't got the reference yet, which we'll get in a second. And we'll do our parentheses, and we'll do type of, because we can actually reference the actual type, player controller B. Not the B patch, just the B. And to fix this harmony patch, we'll go ahead and right click actions using harmony lib. That should fix it. So now we've got that, we can go in here and we can patch a method. So what do we need to patch? If we go back in, there's a couple different options. We've got a late update. We've got update. I know it's not on the screen here. It's in here somewhere. Update. You can patch update. I think update's fine. So patch update. It happens every frame, so that works. So what we can do with update is we'll create a new private static method. So private static, or we don't need to make it private. Just do a static static void patch. We'll say patch update, or we could just say, or we could do like uh, infinite sprint patch, something like that. If you're going to be patching more than one thing with the update method, you may want to call it the patch update instead of the infinite sprint patch, but for our purposes, this is perfectly fine. Okay, so to tell it that we want to patch update, because it doesn't know that we're patching update, it has no idea. Firstly, we need to tell it whether it's a prefix or a postfix. So Harmony postfix, we'll do a postfix for this one. So what is a postfix and a prefix? Those two things tell us where to put the code essentially. This happens, then the function happens, and then that happens. Is it this or that? Prefix is, of course, this, it's the beforehand, and postfix is afterwards. So that tells us how we're going about patching it. There's other stuff, other types. I think there's, if we do type in just Harmony here, we've got some other stuff like after, before, cleanup, debug, delegate, emit, finalizer, patch all. That's not relevant. Just a few other things that transpiler is the other one that's big for something like this. Just some other stuff that we're not going to be going over today. But we're going to do a postfix. So when we look at it, like determining when we want to do something, so update does all the calculations. So I'm pretty sure we're looking at update. Yeah. So everything happens during the update function. So we'll do, if we just look for sprint meter here, update happens. It calculates sprint meter. It looks like it uses it. It doesn't actually calculate it here, at least not that early. So you don't see really any references to it anywhere in there. So that's good. Oh, here it is. That looks like it is calculated. So it's calculated here after we do it, and it looks like it does use the sprint meter number. So it's possible it could cause issues. So what we want to do is, just in case, we're going to do the postfix, because if it's incorrect, I actually don't think it matters here, to be honest. Oh, this is late update. We're in late update. Okay, so I imagine, I don't know what late update does. Again, that's my lack of Unity knowledge. Do it before late update, after update. So it gets set to max before calculations are done. So sprint meter equals math.f minus, yeah, so we'll be fine. Since it happens every frame, even if it does go down a little bit, it'll go right back up. So update postfix is fine. And now we need to tell it to actually do update. So there's two ways to go about telling it to do update. And it depends on what you find. So for example, Harmony patch, we could just do update. That works. That will work in almost every single case. There's a nicer way to do it if it picks up that you can do it. And that usually is the case if it's public. Update's private, if I'm not mistaken. So if it's private, it'll likely not show. So much. There it is. Yep, it's private. So it's not going to work, but you can say name of, and it'll be player controller B dot update. We can see update's not available. If we do the dot again, we can see there is stuff that we can access. If you can access the method this way, I recommend it. But since we can't, we'll just do update. Oops, update. There we go. Now, how do we get access to the what do we call it? The sprint or the sprint meter? Because we don't just get it. We don't just get to say sprint meter here or player controller B dot sprint meter. At least not the way we've done it. We have to reference it. So we can get it by doing ref, and it's a float. We've already looked at it and know it's a float. Underscore, 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 sprint meter. So The ref and the underscores tell us it's a reference to something else, to something in there. And this will get us access to sprint meter. So to set it, we can just do a couple. You can do a couple different options. For example, for maybe a quick, like a quicker recovery, you could do something like sprint meter plus 0.001f or something. We're just gonna do um, sprint meter equals 1f. And that's it pretty much. Um, Seriously, that's it for patching it. We've now set sprint meter to 1f every frame. So every time that frame happens, it's going to give us, or it's going to say our sprint is max. So we need to tell it to actually patch this. And what we can do is just harmony.patch all. We probably don't even need to be patching this method if I'm not mistaken, but that's okay. We're going to do player controller patch. Okay. Control B for build. And if everything has gone smoothly, we've done debug. So what we'll do is we'll open in folder in File Explorer, go to bin, debug, and find your mod. It's going to be your mod name.dll. So lc tutorial mod.dll. You may have a lot of these other things in here. If you have the references, you can ignore them. That's just so you can use them. It's okay. You don't need to copy them, just the DLL that you've outputted. And then you want to go to your plugins folder. Core, because that's here. So go to Lethal Company, BepInEx plugins, and I have my game master there. I'm going to go ahead and delete that. And let's go ahead and test out our infinite sprint, see if we made any mistakes. So, oops. Over here, we see LC tutorial mod 1.00. The test mod has awakened. I think awoken is the actual correct term for that. We'll go ahead and go online. And I've done it once again, I think. Yep. If you do this, it's going to break it. You got to hit escape. It'll stop being frozen. So go ahead and host. Do your friends only is fine. Don't want to mess with other people considering we don't actually intend on playing right now. And let's go ahead and sprint around, see if our sprint goes down. Be quiet. Let's double check with the thing down. I don't think there's infinite sprint inside of here, but just to be safe, because to be honest, I have no idea. And let me double check and make sure my mod didn't load. Okay, perfect. Just want to make sure Game Master wasn't running and giving me infinite sprint either. Not to say I wasn't expecting this to work. I just want to make sure there's no other outside influence that would be giving us bad results here. But it looks like infinite sprint is working, so we have successfully patched the game. Let's go ahead and steal this beehive. That's mine now. I'm being chased by the bees. Oop. We can get away from them here. There we go. We've successfully escaped the bees using our infinite sprint. Now that we've got this set up, you can really patch pretty much, you can patch a lot of stuff using that method. There's really, the sky's the limit once you get here. I mean, like the only thing we're not doing is adding new adding new stuff. So this is the player controller. A couple other places that might be of interest is this dash mark here. So this is where, like for example, all our AI is. All of our items, the terminals in here, turrets, the walkie, start match, start of round. A big thing that controls a lot of this game is the round manager. You go down to round manager. A lot goes on in here, so if we open it up, this controls a huge portion of the game. So if you're wanting to mess with enemy AIs, vents, time of day, round manager, start of round, those are going to be three big ones. So anyway, that is it for making a mod. If you run into any issues, feel free to drop a comment down below. Head into the Discord to ask some questions. You can reach out to me even. But yeah, otherwise, thank you for watching and have a wonderful day.